daughters, sisters, and wives. He says they're gonna change our lives. He says be women, be girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. As you know, we're all about funding women. Today, we have on an exceptional guest. She is identified by Worth Magazine as one of the 16 financial powerhouses. Marie Claire says she's one of the 50 most connected women, and Business Insider, they say she is one of 22 angel investors that every startup founder needs to know. Please welcome to the show, Lorine Pendleton. Hi, Lorine.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And you know what? I know I only gave you like 3 of your accolades, but those were really impressive. I wanted to start with those.
Thank you.
I want to talk about, you just shared with me, you were born in New York. Today, you're coming to us from New Jersey Shore. I wanted to talk about your incredible journey. And, I noticed that you started as an attorney at a small entertainment boutique. I don't know about small, but an entertainment boutique firm representing people like Prince and Stevie Wonder and other great artists. And then you took an interesting path, and I want to talk about your journey. Like, how did you go from there to being, really an icon in the investment world? And then I want to talk more about, of course, the investment world, because I know one thing you and I agree on is we need more female angel investors. So we are going to get to that. But first, how did you make that transition in that journey?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. I think, you mentioned I started out as a lawyer. Actually, I started out in entertainment after graduating college and then ended up going to law school and, kind of dating myself. But when I was practicing, the internet had just come out. MP3 was a big thing before streaming. It was people could digital download. And I really saw as an inflection point, the internet coming out, and that it was like this, synergy between entertainment and the internet, a new way of delivering content to people. And so I ended up leaving practicing and I joined an internet startup. It was an Israeli company. And they liked my background because I had, entertainment and media contacts. And so they were licensing their technology to, companies that were media, content players, and so got equity in the company. And I tell people, that was my first lesson in product market fit because we had a great product. The engineers are former military intelligence officers in Israeli army. And we had really great tech people. But we created something that was ahead of its time and the market wasn't there. And so we had raised money from GE Ventures. We ended up having to unwind the company because we didn't get enough sales and tractions. And I did business development sales. And, that was my first lesson. And that was
interject there that I just read that Israel is like one of the leaders in tech creations and innovations, right?
Yeah, it was. It is. And when I worked for this company, was called Select Minds. They actually called the area where the tech companies was Silicon Wadi. And, it was before, now Google's there, a lot of big tech companies, but it was just burgeoning. And so this was like in the early 2000s. So it looks very different. I haven't been to Israel since I worked at that company, but now it's definitely a hotbed of technology and a lot of great companies have come out of Israel, and it's really grown. But I was there at the very infancy. So think about just also Silicon Valley. Not so much Silicon Valley, but Silicon Alley in New York was a burgeoning tech scene around that time. And, but it was a really great experience. I learned a lot, learned about technology in that way. Although we had to unwind the company and we ended up not being successful, it was a really great lesson for me, product market fit. So you can have an amazing product, but if people aren't buying it, you don't have a viable business. And
And,
so,
just to interject there,
sure.
what an interesting transition from you working in, entertainment law to going in technology. I bet it was one of the best moves you ever made.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, sometimes I do. I keep in touch with my boss, my former boss who ran the law firm, and he's doing some interesting things. And I wonder if I continue on that path, what would my life look like? I mean, representing celebrity clients. I mean, it's really exciting, but I don't regret anything. I love what I'm doing now. And where I'm at to this point in terms of, launch a VC firm, which we can talk about. But yeah, so worked at startups, that company unwinded. We had to, it shut down. So I was at a crossroads. Do I go back to law, or do I go back, continue in the startup journey? So I chose the latter. I continued the startup journey. I ended up joining another company, startup called Community Connect. And they were one of the first social networking companies out there, social media, social networking companies. We had 3 web properties: Black Planet, Asian Avenue, and Mahente. And so they basically were, before Facebook existed, social media. You could set up a page, you could connect with people, but it was geared towards the ethnic market. And so at one point we had registered user, over 25 million registered users. We were the first social media company to have, I think actually, just in general, kind of web company to have over 1 million registered users. And so really for Black Planet, that was really interesting. And I did sales. I did sales and business development, getting advertisers to advertise on our website. So we had to convince, which seems so absurd now, we had to actually convince advertisers and our clients that Black people, Latinos, are surfing the net and they're online. So they said, oh, well, they don't have computers, they're not online. So that was like, once we crossed that hurdle, and then we showed them our stats and our data, and they were like, wow, not only were we had these members, but they were sticky. On average, they were spending like over an hour on our website. And again, now there's a lot of websites, but we were there at the forefront. And so people would literally be on there for an hour connecting with each other. They would, we launched a dating product because we had, the eyeballs. And so that was a really great experience as well. And then I joined another company. That company was sold. I joined another company that was licensing their technology to companies, basically alumni programs. So outsourcing, it's a B2B, business to business SaaS play. So for instance, Microsoft was one of the first ones to create kind of alumni program, McKinsey as well. And so, people leave McKinsey, they start out their career and then they go on and they do amazing things. But if you have an alumni website, much as if you went to Harvard, a way that people can communicate, keep in touch, post jobs, say, hey, I'm coming into New York, let's do a get together with our New York alums. But it was around a company. And so for companies, why it's important to keep your alumni, friend of mine is because in some cases, 5% become decision makers where they can buy either legal services or consulting services. If you keep in touch with them throughout their career trajectory, they have a loyalty towards you. And then also some people will they call boomerangs, they'll come back to your company. They may go off and come back. You have to pay recruiting fees and they know the culture. So, a rehire is a good thing.
And it just seems like everything you've done has led to you being a successful investor. Just learning the whole tech world, the startup world, all
exactly.
of it.
Yeah. So I've been an operator. I think that's really important to have that skill set to understand, what it is to launch a company, what it is to grow your company, what do you need to do to be accountable to investors, hitting benchmarks. So yeah, I had that experience, which I think has, all of this is built up to what I'm doing now.
Right. And for our audience, explain what an operator is.
Sure. So exactly what I said, working at startup companies, I did business development and sales. Every company has different functions. You have a marketing person that, helps get the brand out there, the name of the company out there to get hopefully leads and potential customers and clients. My job was to generate revenue, close them, get them to, say HBO is coming out with a new show, hey, you should market on our websites. We have a great, we have a lot of people that come, they spend a lot of time. They can see your brand, and we would negotiate what that would cost, online marketing, what that would cost. We did a deal, more business development, not straight like sales, but business development. We did a deal with, Earthlink. Do you remember Earthlink?
Yes.
So I'm completely dating myself. So that was like a dial-up
I remember it.
ISP, internet service provider, and they wanted to get more people signing up for their, to get on their service. And so every person that we drove that they came from us, we would get a bounty, like $50 per new person. And so we came up with really great strategies on how to do that and market that across our website. And so, yeah, it was really, I learned a lot as an operator or working on, as a startup, as one of the employees and helping the company be successful. And so the company, the alumni company, that they actually sold to Oracle. So not too bad. 2 out of the 3 companies that I worked for ended up having exits. The first one went bust, but it was a great lesson for me. And also when I was interviewing for the next company to go to, just, again, product market fit. You may have a great product, but is there a market, people who want to buy your product? And that informs me as I'm looking at companies to invest in, even today.
I see everything you've done, from the legal knowledge to the tech knowledge to the sales to the startup world, and everything, and your 2 exits, that's a big deal. Growing successful companies, that's no easy thing, and a lot of luck involved in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I could see how everything you did, that's what makes you such a good investor. And I want to talk about all the things in the investment world that you're involved in, because it's really fascinating.
Sure.
I see that you're a member of Pipeline Angels. And
right.
Because you and I are big advocates of women becoming angel investors,
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention that you and I were on the WOCON Women of Color Summit. And we agreed that, more women need to be angel investors. All women, all ethnicities, all ages, all sexualities. We all need to be more informed about the angel investing world and being limited partners. And so would you say Pipeline is a great way for women to educate themselves about angel investing?
Yeah, I mean, so the transition, from investor happened for me because I actually went through Pipeline Angels. I was like second class to graduate. And then, that was 9 years ago. And now Pipeline has been around for 10 years and has, I think something like 500 women have gone through Pipeline Angels, which is pretty remarkable. And a lot of them have launched funds. Well, I would say a lot, but people have launched funds and are doing stuff in the entrepreneur ecosystem or investing ecosystem. And so that really, I learned how to, going through that training program, I learned how to value a company. I learned how to perform due diligence, all the things you need to be a successful investor. And it demystified investing for me and made it accessible. It's not rocket science, but like anything, you need to learn about it, and you learn by doing. And so, my cohort, we 80 companies applied for funding from us. And so we narrowed it down to 10 companies. They pitched us. We had like a pitch day. And then from there, we went into due diligence on 3. And then we made the decision to invest in one of those companies. And so it was like a whole process. And then, we had help. We had mentors who would help us. Is this a good valuation of the company? We did due diligence. And so I learned really, by doing and learning, kind of best practices to be a great investor. And that was really a great experience. And then I'm learning with other women who are like-minded and really interesting. Pipeline did a really great job of curating the groups. Each of us had our own strengths, and so it was a great way to learn. And to this day,
you have to do it on your own, right?
That's what I was about to say. To this day, I think it's so important to invest with other people. Even, and we can talk a little bit about my fund, but I think I learned that I work better with other people. You avoid blind spots. Someone may see something that I may have missed, or I may see something that they may have missed. And it's important.
Absolutely. And you said they have about 500 members. And you know what, Lorene? I would love to see that be 5,000. Wouldn't you? I mean,
Absolutely.
no,
Yeah.
we need to accelerate more women being in this. But there are more and more female founded funds. We just need more women investing in those funds. I always tell people every week, it's a very exciting world to learn about all the fascinating new innovations. It can be very lucrative. It can
Absolutely.
really be your legacy,
Yeah.
helping to discover something. And these women that have these innovative ideas that can help impact the planet will never see the light of day if we don't get funding behind them. And they're not getting funding from the male-led funds, which leads me to, the female-led funds, which is
Mhm.
you're involved in,
Right.
the Portfolia, right?
Yep.
The
Rising America
Rising
Fund.
America, thank
Fund
you.
1 and 2. Yeah.
Yes,
We have two
yes.
funds.
Which is very focused, right, on women, people of color, LGBTQ, just that
Yes.
underserved
Yeah.
community, right?
So really our thesis is we're investing in, diverse, one of the founders is diverse or LGBTQ or products and services that impact those markets. And we have two funds. The first fund, we launched it in 2019, the end of 2019, before COVID, before George Floyd. And, we were able to get some great investors. And then we made 17 investments in some really great companies. And then off of the momentum of our first fund one, which by the way, we got results recently, we have a net internal rate of return, unrealized. We haven't had an exit yet, but we deployed all the capital within 2 years at 44%, which puts us in some of the top VC funds of vintage year 2020. So, which is really remarkable, and it shows that our thesis is, we have the right thesis. And, it's interesting when I first launched the fund, I would tell people the thesis investing in diverse like companies, LGBTQ. And some people said to me, surprise, surprise, white men said to me, well, why don't you just invest in the best entrepreneurs? So it was like they were implicitly saying that these are not the best entrepreneurs. And I actually pushed back and said, actually, these entrepreneurs, women, people of color, because they don't get funding the way that others get, they are incredibly capital efficient. They have to be, because they don't know if they're going to get another round of funding. And I tell people they have to make, a dollar out of 50 cents, they have to, and studies have shown that, women, for every dollar they get in VC, they generate about 70 cents versus men, 31 cents. And so, that is truly what they have to do. So they're incredibly capital efficient. I consider them high performing entrepreneurs because they don't have the luxury of getting a big round or big check. They get less than funding, and they have to be scrappy. They have to be resilient. And so, to me, those are, the best entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And because so many of the unicorns are coming out of these funds and that pool that you're talking about, more people are starting to sit up and recognize they're missing out on a lot if they don't invest in these entrepreneurs in the underserved community, right?
I think also the other thing I would add also is if you look at the demographics in the United States, it's changing. It's becoming, it's going to be a majority minority by 2046. And if you look at
more women,
Well, right. No, I mean, all of women, and then, more women are in college, getting college educated. There's going to be a shift of wealth to women. And then by the end of this decade, women are going to control most of the wealth in this country for various reasons. So it's no longer the way it was. And so for companies, for VCs not to embrace this change, it's a good thing to do, but put that aside from a purely business strategic standpoint. If you're not doing that, your competitors are going to do it. You're going to get left behind. Absolutely. And so if you just look at consumer trends, buying power, the Latino market, the Black market, the Asian market, LGBTQ, women, we're massive markets. And 70% of our GDP in this country comes from consumers. And so for a VC to kind of not look at that and look at companies I'll give you an example, a breast pump, right? A breast pump had not been innovated for a number of years, for decades. And so Trish tells a story. Trish Costello is the founder of Portfolia. She tells the story of, and that's why she launched Portfolia, of a woman who created this breast pump that had technology. And she said, I'm going to introduce you to VCs that I know. And they said, no, well, one said, I'm sorry, I can't invest in this. And she said, why? It's great technology. And he said, because it's icky. And she said, what? The ick factor. He's like, I can't be in my Monday venture meetings talking about breast pumps, breast milk, breasts. It's icky. And so women are more than 50% of the country. Women have kids. It's a product that can benefit women who are breastfeeding.
And because he's 80% of the buying decisions, right?
Right. But because he feels uncomfortable, this company didn't get funding from him. So there's something wrong with that. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel like one group of people should be deciding innovation in this country, particularly when the country is changing and there's problems that impact communities of color, women, and because they're not entrenched in it, they're not going to get funding. And I'm sorry, there's something, wrong with that.
Right. And, and I'd mentioned in my TED talk, Fund Women Save the World, that really research shows that people do tend to invest in people they identify with. So
Yes.
That is why it's so important that we have more women at the decision-making table.
Absolutely.
And more LGBTQ. It's important that they're at the investment decision-making table. And that's something we're trying to hit home every day. That's why people listening have an opportunity to invest in funds like yours if they qualify to do so, if they're an accredited investor. There are so many women who could be accredited investors who are not stepping up to the table. But this is why we're having this conversation.
This is why, right. And this is why you have your podcast to shed light on this. And, interesting stat in terms of, it may have gone up a bit, but I know as of a year ago, accredited investors, there's about 10 million women in the United States who are accredited investors. Of those 10 million, only half of 1%, so not even 1%, so 0.5% invest in early stage companies versus men who are accredited investors. 30% of men invest in early stage companies. And so if we're able to get more women activating their wealth and investing in early stage companies, we can change things. We can fund great companies that are led by women, people of color, that then they're going to go out and they're going to hire people. And this is all boat rises, they rise. And so if we have more people who are, have employees, these employees will go out and they'll buy homes, they'll buy goods, so it's actually doing the country a disservice. And they've shown, Citibank did a great looking at just, Black people, people of color. If people were given of color the same opportunity in terms of funding, it would generate $2 trillion to the economy, just to trickle down, in terms of just all these things, and so to me, it's like we're doing ourselves a disservice as a country by not doing this.
Right. And it makes the world a better place that
absolutely. But I'm just talking about, the bottom line is some people don't care about making the world unfortunately, they care about dollars, they care about money. And so I argue, so when I talk, it's not even an argument. When I explain it, I sometimes with certain people, not everyone, I put it in dollars and cents because at the end of the day, there's some people who only respect the dollar and, and so, so it's not only a good thing, you should be doing it because it benefits, it's a good thing to do and, creating equitable for everyone. But if not everybody believes that everybody should be treated equally, let's be realistic. But a lot of people like the dollar. So,
you're as passionate about this as I am.
Right.
And the second part of what I was going to say is where it does benefit the people who don't care about other people is that these women and people of color that you're funding have innovations that will impact the planet in a positive way that does affect them and their families and their children and their heirs.
Absolutely.
So, that's why they should care. Just this week, I had on my panel a woman who's helping processed food waste into upcycled food. I mean, it came from a woman. Had she not gotten funding, this would be impacting the world adversely. People each have ideas, their planet. That's why our purpose on the planet.
Right.
And women are half of those people, and as well as people of color and LGBTQ. We're huge, like you said, a majority of the population. If you're leaving all that innovation and brain power on the wayside, it will adversely affect the planet because of all
Absolutely.
the innovations that they do bring to the table. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, everything you're saying, yeah, we're preaching to the choir. Absolutely. So, yeah.
So how can people get involved in your Portfolia fund?
Yeah, so we're actually open to investments. We're actually probably going to close shortly. So hopefully, if you're interested, definitely reach out. So
you'll be probably doing a third fund. I'm guessing.
Yeah, we will. We're going to be launching a third fund shortly. So, but no, definitely, get on our radar or just reach out to us. People can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on, Twitter, social media, but it's Portfolia. It's like portfolio, but an A, because we're focused on getting women into this asset class of venture capital and activating the wealth of women. And my fund, we've done 13 funds. I've done 2 of the funds and they've been very successful. And but we've had funds, green and sustainability, as you mentioned, femtech. Portfolio was the first, created the first femtech fund focused on women's health ever in the United States. Now there's a lot of people who've jumped into the space. It's $100 billion plus industry, but there was not a fund focused on women's health. Again, women are more than half the population, have, health issues, people not looking at menopause or, all kinds of things. And so we created that first fund, and now others have followed. We have an active aging fund, products and services targeting baby boomers or improving the lives of baby boomers. So we have that kind of fund. So, we don't have the run of the mill funds. We have some really interesting funds that we've created that are addressing and solving problems that need to be solved that are typically overlooked by traditional VCs.
Right. What a wonderful niche. What a great thing you're doing. Definitely living your purpose on the planet.
Thank you. And you are likewise, you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you guys listening that are not seeing the video, you can look up Lorine. It's Lorine Pendleton, Pendleton. Look her up on LinkedIn. Check out Portfolia with an
Portfolia. Yeah.
With an A. They're doing such great work. And if you want to learn more, also you can get some training through that Pipeline Angels that you mentioned. So there are angel groups just about in every city. Women can reach out to them to learn more about it. If you are an accredited investor and have not stepped into this amazing and fascinating world, you need to do so. So please look for us on social media. I'm Catherine Gray at Invest in Her on Instagram, and we are She Angel Investors on all the others. You can look for Lorine as well. And just remember to invest in her. Put your money behind another woman, no matter what opportunity you use to do that. It could be hiring her, it could be investing in an equity crowd fund, or it could be, if you're an accredited investor, being an angel investor and limited partner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Lorine, thank you so much for generously giving of your time. Everybody, make it a great week.
Thank you.
And remember to check out the Wealthy Women's Summit put on by our podcast sponsor, the Bra Network. Here's a message from their founder, Carrie Murray.
I know we've all been to hundreds of conferences. Just hearing the word conference and you can picture the lanyard and the name tag and the taste of cold coffee. You wrap up, you post on Instagram, maybe you get a swag bag. You leave thinking, well, now that I'm empowered, what's next? How does this help my growth, both personally and professionally? Well, it's time to change things up. It's time to shake things out. Prosperity plus abundance. Flourish plus consciousness. That is the Wealthy Women Summit, set for August 25th and 26th in the beautiful Long Beach Harbor. Right next to the Queen Mary, docked is the Sir Winston yacht. because nothing says a conference about wealth than a conference that takes place on a yacht. We are going to have panels and speakers and workshops on all the different decks. Everything to help you cultivate a life that is more than just wealth, meaning the money you have in the bank, but wealth in mind and body, wealth in leadership and growth, wealth in health, wealth in life. We want to provide you with a full experience of living a wealthy lifestyle. Now, I want you to head over to the WeWoSummit.com website. It's WeWo, WeWo, summit.com, and use promo code INVEST to get 15% off your ticket to this very unique experience. See you this summer.
Remember, if you're looking to launch a business or grow your business, check out our e-course, 6 Ways to Fund Your Business, available at sheangelinvestors.com.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay